Okay, well, hi everyone, and thank you very much for watching or listening. It's Liam Hartree here today with another episode of Presenting Champions for the Simply Inspired podcast. And today I'm joined by a very special guest, Gareth Hayes, who is the former heavyweight bare knuckle boxing European champion for Bad to the Bone, one of the toughest men out there, has competed in bare knuckle boxing. We're going to be finding out more about this man's life and journey today, obviously the mindset that it takes to reach a high level in one of the toughest sports in the world. We're going to be finding out about his background, finding out about his previous fights, and finding out about where he wants to go in the future as well in the fight game. So stay tuned, everyone. It's going to be another exciting episode. And Champ, thank you very much for taking time out of your day for this and everything. Really good to have you here, mate. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's a privilege to be on here, mate.
Absolutely. So we will talk about everything fighting related, but let's go back in time a little bit and just find out a little bit about where you're from originally, and if sports was part of your life growing up, or if it was something that sort of came along later. Let's start there, please, mate.
So yeah, basically, I'm from Bolton, Little Lever and everything, but really, no, sports wasn't a thing in my life. I fish. I've always fished. I'm a big carp fisherman, you know what I mean, and all that and stuff. But I joined the army at 16-year-old. I spent 12 years in the army when I was 16. I was quite, even though I'm 6'7" now and I'm quite a wide structure, I was a skinny kid, so I was bullied and everything else and that through school. But yes, and then I spent my time in the army and everything else. No, I've never like so now I'm not into football or anything like that and stuff. But I went to like boxing and stuff just to it was fitness really once like over COVID time. I put a bit of weight on and stuff. I normally in the gym anyway. But yeah, growing up really, no, I wasn't a big sports fan. Never went to football games. Never played football. Didn't really like it. So yeah, I've took it all on at a bit of a later age.
Yeah, I think that's cool, though, mate. I think that's really cool because there's probably a lot of people out there wondering if it's like too late for them to give it a go, if you get what I mean. And you sort of show those people that you can give it a go, and have a late start and everything, and still achieve some big things, if you get what I mean. So I think that's really cool, actually. So, all right, then let's touch on a couple of things there, and then we'll jump into the fighting. You mentioned about like the army and everything like that, and I think it'd be good for people to hear a little bit more about that, maybe a little bit more about some of your favorite moments from there, maybe a couple of things that you had to overcome as well, because it sounds like you had a few rough patches with the bullying and things. So we talk about it from both sides, if that's okay with you. Maybe a few things you like, maybe a few
Yeah.
didn't like so much. Let's start there as well.
So basically, in school, I didn't really bother much with the education wise. Kept bunking off and everything else because of the bullying. They didn't want to go in and stuff. But I grew up with my grandparents, and they was both ex-military. My granddad lived in 22 years. My grand used to be a lorry driver. So when I came out to keep me away from the trouble and going drifting the wrong way and stuff like that, I listed when I was 16. But I failed my first test, so I was adamant I want to go back. Passed when I was just turning 17, and then got in the infantry and everything else and stuff. And when I was in there, the training like and stuff and that, and like the people that trained you, like the sergeants and the corporals and all, they was like trying to say, like, why are you letting people bully you? You're 6'7" lad, you've got a bit of a structure about you and everything else and that. And well, maybe basically toughens you up. It sorts you right out, you know what I mean? The discipline and everything else and stuff, the fitness and everything else and that. And I think just as I was turning 18, because you don't go on tour until you're 18, as I was just turning 18, a couple of weeks before my 18th birthday, I was shipped off to Northern Ireland, to South Armagh. You know what I mean? So my 18th birthday was spent on tour in Northern Ireland. And then just as we was leaving Northern Ireland, the Twin Towers happened, and they were saying, right, you're going home on leave for a bit, get ready, pack up, you're off again. So literally most of the majority of my life from my 18th, my 21st, and my 30th, and that really, it was more traveling around, spending things, you know what I mean, not being at home and that, and still seeing my mates here and there and stuff like that. But a part of me is I miss it, and a part of me is I'm glad I'm out as well. The discipline wise, I think you gotta like. I have the argument with my missus now is I make my bed first thing in the morning. Making my bed first thing in the morning starts your day as a positive mode. You know what I mean? It gives you a good attitude. I have this attitude: is if it's you're going to do something, you do it and get it done out of the way. I don't leave things behind. But yeah, so the army did make a big hit in my life, you know what I mean? And it changed things and motivated things around and stuff. But again, as well, it made a big miss in social life as well, and friends and other things as well.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, like the pros and cons and everything. And I'll touch on one or two other things of that before we go any further. With the bullying side of things, I want to flip this on its head. And what I mean by that is, when I do these podcasts and everything, I always try and look at the positive of how people have overcome something and look at it from that point of view. So basically, your advice for people out there who are getting bullied and picked on and what have you, and obviously it can happen to anyone, like you say, and you've got the big sort of intimidating build and everything, but it was still happening. And obviously you sorted that out. So what advice would you give if there's someone listening to this and struggling with that, you know?
Yeah, there's two ways I got taught with the bullying. Is one was this sounds pretty, is take the loud mouthy one out straight away and the rest will follow down. You know what I mean? It's just sometimes it's bitterness and jealousy, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. And they've had issues in their life, probably at home, and they, you know what I mean. But I found my bullying stopped when I actually stand up to the bullies. And when I stood there, like, I know it's not the same these sort of days, but when they stood to the boys and had the fight, you'd shake hands and it'd be over with and it'd be done with. You've had your piece and it wouldn't have carried on. You know what I mean? For years, I took it when because I was 6'7", but I was a skinny kid. Um, I just let them carry on abusing me and pushing me about until eventually I stood my ground and went, that's enough. And then once I stood my ground and had enough, and the presence of 6'7" angry guys came along, they're like, whoa, it backs off a bit, you know what I mean? But yeah, I get a lot with my sides when I got my mates and that, and they always say is don't bully. It's no good bullying. Don't be the bully. Don't ever like if I see somebody bullying, I don't become the bully of the person or that, you know what I mean, and stuff. You just say, give it a rest, mate. You know what I mean? Because it's not a nice thing. There's like I know through people, mates, and that have nearly killed herself and that through bullying. But sometimes the bullying it's more another issue with somewhere else in their family as well. So you got to try and understand both ways. But I think the best way is it's like trying to stand up. I found the best way for me to stop being bullied was standing up to the bullies. You know what I mean? And that's how I found it worked for me. It might not work for some people, you know what I mean? It might, but I think finding up and standing up to them because then you've confronted them stops it carrying on. If you carry on letting them do it, it carries on repeating and repeating itself, and you don't put a stop to it.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And it's really good advice out there because it's a big problem and it's a very sort of isolating problem for people, you know, because when you're going through that, people feel like they're on their own going through it. A lot of times they don't tell people. So if they can listen to this and pick up one or two things from what you've said there and it helps someone, then, you know, we've done our job with that part of it, haven't we, really? That's the way I look at it. With the army side of things, and then we'll jump into the fighting from there. You mentioned about touring in Northern Ireland, and you mentioned about the Twin Towers and the tragedies there, and you mentioned about going back. So, what other tours did you go on from there? And tell us a little.
So yeah, we did a tour of Iraq and everything else and stuff. Don't really like talking much about all this one, but yeah. So I did 3 tours altogether and everything else and that. And I think just when you come back and you've been somewhere like that, life's not 100% the same. Um, it's a bit of a different story. That's another reason why I left the army was because once you've been on tour and you come back, and you're back at your base and you're just walking around doing nothing, you're mentally not the same sort of thing. It's not the same sort of feeling as well and stuff. So but yeah, I wouldn't doubt me ever being in the army. It's taught me a lot of things. It's discipline. It's taught me to work in teamwork. It's taught me structure. It's taught me how to push myself to a limit and figure things out. Man, you know, you're under pressure and that, and not stress out and trying to work things out, which basically comes into the fighting mode as well. It's taught me a few things of that and stuff. But yeah, the tours and stuff like that. Like I said, when you were 18-year-old and you still like when we was in Northern Ireland on Besmont Rail, we could have not been here because some guy fell asleep on camp on Stag and a missile got launched into camp, but luckily it didn't explode. So there's a few little things like that that could have not been here at the time now doing this conversation.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy what people go through. I mean, I've had a lot of veterans on on this podcast, and some of the stories you hear is crazy. But I appreciate you sharing that, mate. I mean, there's never any pressure here to talk about anything you don't want to talk about. If we do ever touch on something, you think, look, I don't want to go there, just say, and it's fine.
Yeah,
I do appreciate it from because I just try and frame everything from things that help people, and I appreciate you talking about it from that point of view. So jumping into the fighting, because this gives people the context of who you are, it gives people the context of some of the mental toughness and things that you have, as well as
mhm.
physical strength and things like that. Obviously, jumping into the fighting side of things, first things first, what gave you the idea to actually want to give that a go? As we said earlier, at a late age and everything like that. What was your inspiration for jumping in the ring, basically?
So I've always I don't know, even though like I said with the bullying and everything else and that and stuff and fighting and that, I've always been quite a powerful hitter. I'm a big lad. You know what I mean? I'm 6'7", 18 stone lad now. Um, and I always wanted to do a white collar, to test myself to see what I could be like and everything else. And I never really got into it. I've applied for it and back off and that. And then I met some people from Anarchy Gym in Bolton. I don't know, you bet Andrew Batewell, Stephen Wiggins, a lot. And they were doing a charity MMA fight, like for charity and everything else and stuff. And everybody's like, "Would you be interested?" And I thought, you know what, I'll sign up for that. So I started going to Anarchy Gym just for the fitness as well, because even though that's it's physically fit and stuff like that as well, and challenge yourself. So I started there. Anarchy doing MMA and everything else and that. And then I got slowly roped into the boxing side of bare knuckle boxing by Andrew Batewell, who runs obviously now BKFC UK. He slowly started to rope me into that side of the sparring part and stuff. And that's where it just ended up from there. When COVID happened, he kept before the COVID and when we could get in to train as much as we could, he got me in as much as he could to train. And he just said, "Would you like a fight?" And the first fight was Taller Line Series, which is a big American series in Blackpool. It got put off a couple of times, and my first opponent was Corey Harrison. I don't know if you've heard of Corey Harrison. He was quite high up in the chart, and I was a newbie beginner on it all. So the odds was a bit, well, but you know what I mean. The fight happened, and I won it the first time. You know what I mean, on a big show. So that's where it started from, through Andrew Bakewell, really keeping me keen and hungry for it.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. Well, shout out to Andy Bakewell as well. Absolute legend that man is. The way he's changed the face of combat sports in the UK. All the fighters he's helped and everything. Big shout out to him. So that was okay. So that was the start of the journey. So when we're looking at it now, how many fights have you had altogether? Because you've been busy in quite a short time, haven't you, as well?
Yeah, so I've had six fights it is, and I've lost two. Two have been to my arch enemies. It seems to be two French people I've lost to. One is the French Viking. You know what I mean? He was my second ever fight, and he's one of the biggest fighters in Europe. So I took him on a big fight on my second fight as well. You know what I mean? Game is due. He was a scrap and everything, but I was beating him. I was two and a half rounds up. I got a little bit cocky, and I got caught and got cut. Lost me the round, which lost me the fight. You know what I mean? From a second fight to take on somebody of that experience of King of the Streets and everything else and that people was like, Jesus Christ, guys, you know what I mean? You went rounds with the French Viking, which I nearly, you know what I mean, and stuff. So because I'm a big lad as well, I have always ended up getting pushed towards the big European fighters. You know what I mean? And that's always been the fights that have been pushed towards me, the big European fighters, because I'm a big lad as well. The next one was another one called Andre Love, who was supposed to fought on the BBF show before they went to Fingate, but he had a shoulder injury at Christmas beforehand that got pulled. So I was a bit agitated because it was pulled right at the last minute. And then I had a little girl, so I stepped back a little bit. So I had a little baby and everything else, and that, and as you know, camp and training and that, you can take a lot out. And then I met the people from Bad to the Bone. A pit show. I went to a pit show because I was cornering another lad who we were on the title fight at a pit show. And I met the lads from Bad to the Bone, and he speaks to me and he messaged me saying, like, "Well, you're a big lad. I know you can scrap. There's a European title heavyweight fight on against Andre Love, who I was supposed to originally fight." So that was set up. And unbeknownst, for some reason, on my night, it was my night. And I took the belt less than 7 seconds. You know what I mean? On the night. And then the next one was Steve Venom. I don't know if have you heard of Gratton, the French guy who's training all these big European fighters, but it's his lot, and he already knew from French Viking from fighting him. So he already knew how I fought. So me and Nath Higson, who was helping me train for that, we watched some fights on Steve Venom. We properly misjudged it, got overconfident, misjudged it. And on the night, he played me a way I didn't think. Because normally I'm used to people attacking me. So I play off my jab and he counter-attacked me. So the counter-attacks, and I think it was the second round, he broke my nose, he wouldn't stop bleeding, I lost my title. So, yes. So, and then I did I stopped for a bit, I did a weight cut and I got asked to fight at 95 key because I did a holiday cut thing, but for Corey Harrison again, but I couldn't hold the 95 key. Obviously it was a holiday time, so I put it back on. And then I just turned 40. My missus said, you're 40. I think it's time to slow down a bit, you know what I mean? And I stepped back a bit, and then the Paul Danes fight came up online. So I was looking, and I just put what weight I was interested, and the fight got offered to me. You know what I mean? And then I realised that Paul Danes is 32-0 in K1 fighting and stuff. And I'm like, oh God, this is a big one for me, you know what I mean, and that and stuff on his own show on Street Beats and all that stuff. And but again, you've got to step your boundaries out. You've got to be uncomfortable. You know what I mean? If you're not uncomfortable and it's too easy and you don't scare yourself, then I don't understand what you're putting yourself through all that pressure for. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm in camp now and training twice a day. As you can see, I'm black-eyed up to the max as it is from sparring. I've got an ex-pro training with Stevie Taylor. So it's a busy one at the moment.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it's amazing how much you've done in a short time, and we'll talk more about that upcoming fight as well now in a minute as well. But a couple of other things. First of all, out of those fights so far, which one has been the toughest? Because you were mentioning like the French Viking and some of these guys you've been in there with so soon. It's crazy. Is there one that stands out as being a lot tougher than the other, or are they all sort of?
I think some of them, because I have my range in that, the French Viking was a scrapper, but I have a long reach, so I play on my jab and everything else and stuff. I have my mistakes. I'm not when it comes to technically close to each other, I freak out a little bit, which I've been working on, been sorting out and everything else and stuff, because I'm normally a range fighter. But I think it's like it was the names, I think out of them all, the Steve Venom one, he's just an upcoming lad now and everything else. I'd love to have a rematch with him. Again, Andre Love from Sweden, Norway guy. He's another big fighter over there. He's got a big name out for him and stuff. So they're all equally this sort of the big European lads sort of thing. But the French Viking was when you get told your second fight, you got an opportunity to fight as the champion of King of the Streets heavyweight. You know what I mean, and all this sort. And he's just he had a big fight with that Ricky Leake from Blackpool, which was one of the biggest clashes of heavyweight fights ever and everything else. And then Batewell's opportunity for you, fight him. I'm like, Jesus Christ, go on then. So yeah, you know what I mean? It's like I'm not a big ego person. I don't really go on about it much and everything else. And people have mentioned to me, God, you've took on French Viking and everything else and stuff. You know what I mean? It's just another day in the office, I see it as. But yeah, there is some big names behind them. I'd love to have both of them a rematch. You know what I mean? Maybe one day, maybe on BKFC. You never know. You know what I mean? But yeah, they're definitely it was a big name for me to fight at such a short. Not like I said, I've only been doing it 3.5 years now. You know what I mean? I spar with Nate Dogg and that and stuff like that. So I've been sparring with the bigger names as well and stuff like that. But I'm definitely feeling it as I'm getting older on the body.
Yeah, well, yeah, the wear and tear and that side of things, it does come into it, and we'll touch on a couple of those things. Now, I want to also mention though about when you won the European title because it's something that's an amazing achievement, and it's more than some people will get like in a lifetime of fighting, and you've done that, and I know you're very humble about it. But when you won that fight, not so much the fight itself, but in terms of your mind. What goes through your mind when you realize that you are European champion? Is that something you can put into words?
Yeah, well, it was a shock because it happened so fast. You know what I mean? Like, so I thought it was going to be a brutal scrap, but obviously I caught him quick enough and to end it fast enough. And it didn't sink. And people come up to me and like, "You got European champion heavyweight guys." You know what I mean? I was like, "Yeah, I know." Like, oh. You know what I mean? The only thing I was proud about is when I came home and I passed my belt to my daughters and they were holding it and everything else. You know what I mean? That was. You know what I mean? And my granddad, before he died, he got to see me being with a belt in European champ. Because you know what I mean? It was like I always said one day I wanted a belt in it, and that's why I took into it something for my kids to see and something, you know what I mean, to know and all. And again to test me because I'm 40-year-old and I do work in everything else, but you don't want to end up in a boring situation. So it was testing me to challenge me. Have I got this in me still to keep doing it? You know what I mean? And scare me to do everything else and that and stuff. But yeah, it's like I've got yeah the thought of it, and then when people come up to me going, "Oh, you're the European champ, like former European champion," and all this, I watch the fact like, I've been out to venues for food before, and people have just randomly come up to me and spoke to me, which is, and I sit there going, "This is crazy," you know what I mean? Because I don't really boast it about or anything like that. I'm not, you know what I mean? It's just one of them things. But yeah, it's probably one of the proudest things ever, and then seeing it with my kids. But the fact is, how fast it was over with, I was just like, wow. You know what I mean? What's going? As you, if I don't know if you've watched the footage, I'm leaning over going, get up, get up. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was a nice opportunity to take and have.
Absolutely. It's an incredible achievement. Yeah, I mean, the speed of it as well and everything you've said there. But I find that fascinating what goes through people's minds in a moment. Now, there's another thing here that people don't see from the outside looking in. And again, I'm asking this for the purpose of helping people. I'm asking this for the purpose of fighters who are starting out in the game. You've been very sort of upfront about, does it scare you, puts you under pressure, these like some of the nerves and things before a fight. And I think that's very interesting because to do what you have to do, you have to handle like the adrenaline and the nerves and the pressure to perform and these type of things, even though you obviously love it. And I'm curious, like on the build up to a fight, on a night itself, how you actually handle that. I mean, I don't know exactly what form it takes for you, but that fear
Mm.
pressure and that type of thing. Do you know what I mean? It's another mindset thing. I think it's good to touch on.
Yeah, well, yeah. If you're not scared of going into a fight, there's something wrong. That guy's there trained 6, 7 months as well to take your head off. You know what I mean? And he's probably the same. But then that makes you feel alive. You know what I mean? And that gives you the kick in the butt. Well, when I was walking out to the ring, walking out, I was that nervous in the back of it. I was headbutting my trainer, Nath Higson. I was headbutting him in his back and his shoulder just to, you know what I mean, take the nerves away to keep myself occupied and stuff. But I think once you start walking to that ring and the crowd's there and everybody's around you, you start to settle a little bit in that and stuff. And then when you step in the ring and look at the other guy, I think it's not the nerds, it's go time. It's him or me. You know what I mean? So you switch that flight or fight mode. I think the nerves of the week before, my missus always says to me, the week before a fight, I'm a lot worse. You know what I mean? I'm agitated and everything else and stuff. So that's when the nerves set in. But you've got to be a little bit scared and you've got to be nervous because if you think you're going into a fight and it's going to be easy, then that's when problems go wrong. You know what I mean? Because no fight's easy. It's a lucky shot, lucky punch, or someone's trained harder. But I do it is I'm 40-year-old. I want something to scare me, and that scares me, and it makes me feel. It's not the scare. It makes me feel alive. You know what I mean? It gives me something to live for. So, but yeah, nerves will always be set in there and stuff. You know what I mean? You just got to bite down, swallow it, and get on with your job.
Absolutely, yeah. But I love what you're saying there about feeling alive and about sort of testing yourself and it being a sort of inwards test, if you like, rather than doing it to be like the big I am and this, that, and the other, doing it to like test yourself and prove
Mm.
something to yourself. I love that, and I think that's valuable for young fighters as well because there's so much ego now. There's so much about the money and there's so much about this, and really, it's just when a fight's exciting, it's just people are matched well and they're going to come, one's going to come out on top of the other one, and you shake hands at the end of it, and that's that. But there's a lot of ego now, so it's not a question. I just like what you said there. To be fair, mate, So those are the toughest fights, and a couple of other things to touch on. Now, I also wanted to ask you how you train because obviously having a little one and having a family and having working and doing everything else. time management is a big thing because you know you've got to train hard and you've got to fit it all in. I imagine that the discipline of like the army and things helps you with that. But how do you juggle your time, if you don't mind me asking about this?
Yeah, well, the part of it is when I agree to a fight, I've got to, my missus has got to agree with me as well because I'm not around. I'm in and out the door. Like when Riley's going to the bed now for the next 2 months, I'll be at the gym training, you know what I mean? So I won't be putting my kids to bed as much as I normally do. So it's got to work with my partner as well. But she luckily gives me the go ahead because she's like, you got to train hard. But when I finish my training, that then my focus goes on to my kids. You know what I mean? You make your time up as well. But I still, when I come home, I still make sure I do a nursery run or a pickup. You know what I mean? I still spend time with my kids and everything else and that. And at the moment, with me being on a double session camp, so one's strength training, one's boxing and cardio. But I think if you have a partner that understands as well, which helps, it makes it better. And then after it all, I make sure I focus on them holidays, you know what I mean, enjoy themselves and stuff like that. It is hard, you know what I mean. Sometimes, and I got my daughter going, "Oh, stay here, stay here," you know what I mean. But then sometimes I have to just train later. So my daughter wants me to put her to bed. I stay and I just have to, as much as it's annoying, I have to go train at 9 o'clock at night. I'll have to train 9 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? It was harder in my last previous job because I was doing 100 hours a week, on, week off sort of thing. But at the moment, I've stepped back a little bit on hours so I can get a bit more training in. But we just started pushing it up now to double sessions a day and stuff like that. But yeah, it can be hard. But if your partner understands and that and stuff, and then you still make sure you got your time with your kids and stuff like that, you know, even a school drop off in the morning, you know what I mean, it's spending time with them. But it's not forever. It's what 2 month, 8 week training, 12 week training. You know what I mean? As long as I'm still there for major birthdays, still see them, say goodnight. You know what I mean? Come home with surprises, little toffees and stuff like that. It all works out fine. Main one is you want your partners to be on your back. If your partner's behind your back, there's no pressure on the training.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And again, you know, it's a great sort of life lesson there. Does your partner get nervous watching you fight, though? I mean, obviously she believes in you. You know, obviously, you know, she supports you, she believes in you. But I often think for women, and I really don't mean that in any type of sexist way, but someone they love being in the ring and things like that. It can be scary for like mums and partners and things like this. How do your family respond to you fighting, if you don't mind me touching on this subject as well?
Yeah, my missus, she ends up absolutely smashed because she's so stressed at the side of the ring and everything else. She starts knocking the drinks back. Yeah, she does get worried. The injuries, I think I've had 2 split eyes and 2 broken noses. You know what I mean? When I come home, my kids see my face like, they're like, what's going on? You know what I mean? Sort of thing. Like my youngest, she get used to it now because when I spar, I come home with black eyes and she tells me to go back and beat them up and stuff. But yeah, my missus definitely. I think my mum and a couple of other family members they get a bit anxious, going like, "Come on, guys, it's a bit dangerous." But and like, it's a broken nose, but it can be worse. I think with sparring with gloves, I find that more dangerous than the bare knuckle wise. You know what I mean? Because of this surface and that. When I spar with gloves, it hurts more than sparring with bare knuckle. You know what I mean? Or MMA gloves. But yeah, my partner, she starts knocking a few drinks back at the side of the ring because her nerves are kicking in, anxious and that. Because obviously she doesn't want to see me getting injured. You know what I mean? But I can hear a part of her in the background going, "Oh, smash his head in," and all that screaming and shouting and stuff once she's had a few beers.
That's funny. That is, but yeah, I mean, it's good to mention it because it's something that people overlook. That people are so focused on the fighter themselves that they forget to bring in like the human aspect of, you know, how people feel around you when you're fighting. And I try and ask this in interviews because it's not just, you know, big tough men going toe to toe. I mean, they got lives outside of this, and I like to touch on like how these things impact in other ways, if you get what I mean. So that's very good. Now, coming back to you more personally for a moment, obviously with the army and everything you've been through, do you think that that mental toughness um, sort of plays a role in your success being European champion and what you've achieved in a short time, or do you think it's something that was always with you and you just had to bring it out? If you get where I'm going with this one.
Yeah, I think a little bit it's helped with the discipline. You know, when you can't be bothered and you just want to chill out, like, and you need to go dig deep down and make yourself motivated to go and do things. You know what I mean? It has, and some of it's down in my own willpower as well to go and do it. You know what I mean? Like with this new fight now, I thought I was going to stop and retire, but obviously I've decided to go ahead again and do another fight. But yeah, a little part of it is, yeah, it motivates you. You know what I mean? It has taught me to be disciplined, to keep pushing, to keep going. You know what I mean? Overcoming things. You know what I mean? Like I said, my last fight with Steve Evans, I slacked. I got overconfident, bit cocky. You know what I mean? And I made a mess of it. I didn't make a mess, but I walked into something stupid I shouldn't have walked into. I've learned from my mistakes, and it's the like I've spoke to a few people and they went, "God, you've switched, Gaz." And the switching is, I'm at the gym 2 hours in the morning. I'm at the gym 2 hours at night. In the daytime, I'm cardio and I'm watching videos. I'm focusing. You know what I mean? I'm getting my cardio back up and power strength training and stuff like that. There's like they're saying, like I was tired today, and then I got a phone call. Can you come and spar? I'm up. I'm off. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I know when my body needs to shut down and rest. But yeah, the military wise has sort of bring it out is you push, you keep pushing, you push and push and push and push and push. You know what I mean? You break, you can have a rest when you're finished. You know what I mean? Sort of thing. So yeah, it has helped as well with it all.
Yeah, well, it's cool. I mean, it's a good topic as well, getting into what separates the best from the rest. In other words, the people who go that extra mile and everything, and it makes sense. So, last couple of things because we're doing really really well with this so far. Obviously you've got this upcoming fight. You're very confident. You're going in there well. How can people watch it? How can people buy tickets or support you or get
Yeah,
involved?
yeah, so like the tickets will be on sale. They can either contact me or Street Beef UK, who's doing the fights. I think they're putting a streaming site on the page as well for the fights and everything else. Again, if you watch your social media on Facebook, TikTok, and all that, Instagram, you'll see me either advertising it, or you'll see Paul Baines, who I'm fighting against, will be advertising everything else and stuff. But yeah, this is a bigger. I think out of them all, this is a big fight. It's not just he's a 32, but he's a big following, big social media person. There's a lot of people looking at him and stuff like. I mean, he's joined hands with Ben Hatchett and stuff like that. So you know what I mean and stuff. And Ben's been on a few shows of mine. I'd never heard of Paul Baines lately, but then I've read up on about him, and he had the UK's hardest Dorman belt. You know what I mean? So this is like, because I'm an ex-Dorman as well, so it's like Northeast Dorman versus Northwest Dorman sort of thing. You know what I mean? And I'm coming in as the underdog, very underdog. I've watched his comments on social media, people going, "Oh, but I mean, I ain't no technical fighter, but I hit, and I hit very hard." You know what I mean? And I know he's been hit. He's a K1 fighter, and he's done this and everything else, and he's sparred a few lads. But I'm coming. I'm not. I watched the video. He was saying like, "Oh, I'm not at his level." I'm not at his level, but I'm not a walk in the park either. You know what I mean? And I'm hungry for this one. To prove a point. You know what I mean? Because he's got an opportunity to fight on BKC. So you know what I mean. But yeah, a part of me is like, God, this is a nervous fight, and then the part of me is like, dig down, guys, and do what you need to do.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, my best of luck for it, mate. My absolute best of luck, and it's a big one. And yeah, I mean, big shout out to Paul as well, because I mean, everything he's accomplished, he's a legend. You mentioned some good people actually. You mentioned Nath Higson as well. Shout out to him, J Dog. You
Mm.
mentioned a few people I've been meaning to say. All respect to every one of them. But yeah, good luck for it, mate. I definitely I'll be cheering for you, and we'll go from there. Which
Yep.
brings us to the topic of after that. Are you gonna retire? Are you gonna pack it in, or are you gonna keep going a little bit longer? Do you not know yet?
It depends. If I win the fight and a good opportunity comes along for another good show and another good fight, I'll probably will push on. If I lose, I think it might be time to say I'm done. You know what I mean, and stuff like that. I've got a few other places that have asked me to do a bit of coaching with them in the gyms and stuff like that. Maybe I'll help out the next younger generation people to move up. You know what I mean, in heavyweight wise and stuff like that. Because at the moment, what I'm seeing is a lot of heavyweights are coming down to cruiserweight and stuff. There's not really many people staying at heavyweights. for some reason. I don't know, because it's not many big name fighters at heavyweights anymore, really. They're all like, you got Danny Christie and all that. They're a lot lighter, like heavyweights and stuff like that. Yeah, it'd be good to be involved with the next upcoming heavyweight, maybe help out, you know what I mean, put them on the leaderboard and stuff like that. But I think it all depends on how this fight falls out. So what I do, maybe I might push another year, maybe I might not. It just depends. You know what I mean? If my missus goes, that's it, it's done, you finished with now, family time, you know what I mean? I'll stop. You know what I mean? Obviously, she's the boss. But yeah, it's just an hard one because I didn't take it up to be a social career, and I'm not took it up for money, and I'm not took it up to be famous and not anything else. I took it up to challenge me, to scare me. You know what I mean? I'm not one of these egos who wants to be all over social media, arguing back and forward on TikTok and all this. And look at me. You know what I mean? I'll take a fight, I'll do my training, I'll turn up and do the fight. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, it is nice to be recognised and some people talking about me and saying this and all that and stuff. But yeah, it's just the fighting is for me at the end of the day. No one else or anything like that. It's for me to challenge myself to make me feel alive inside.
Yeah, it makes total sense, mate. It totally does. I mean, obviously, in this day and age, if you're just doing something ordinary, and it's no disrespect to that, but if you're just in an office or something, you're never going to feel that feeling of being truly alive. And I know what it is with risks I've taken in my own life. It's different to fighting, but I know what you're talking about. Even coming over here to Cyprus, it has to be something big that it's like, man, can I actually do this? So I get in a different way what you're talking about. Okay, so that's the future there, and I guess the last thing is just to thank people who've helped you. Because we've talked about a lot of subjects, and I like to close out with thank yous to like trainers, coaches, sponsors. I don't want to put you on the spot if there's like a long list of people, but just to mention a few names who maybe are helping behind the scenes, but they don't really get seen like the work they're doing. If you get what I mean,
Yeah.
with those.
Yeah, so you got like Batewell, Stephen Wiggins and Andrew Batewell for the first day, giving me the, you know what I mean? They put me in, they put me against the bigger fighters and stuff like that. Then like my partner, obviously, she's the biggest thank you know what I mean, for letting me do it and stuff. And then all the other lads from other gyms that come and spar me and stuff. Nav Higson, when I won my title, felt he put a lot of work in with me. You know what I mean? He took his own time out of his own fight career to come and put work in with me. And then you got Stefan at Bad to the Bone for giving me a shot at the title fight. You know what I mean? Another great guy. You know what I mean? And then like all the other lads, Nate Dogg, you know what I mean, and stuff. And then the new the ex-pro training that's training with me now, Stephen Taylor, you know what I mean. And then the gyms where I trained at Anarchy, Life Fitness in Charlie, you know what I mean. Just the people that put the work in with me and help me out and stuff like that. Gilly, everybody knows Gilly. Everybody loves Gilly. You know what I mean? He focused on me for the Corey Harrison fight where I took my first win. You know what I mean? And he cornered me. You know what I mean? So they're all top guys. You know what I mean, and stuff like that. And they've all helped me in progress. Like Batewell's helping me now with lads to spar for this fight coming up. You know what I mean? And put me in contact with people. So they're all still helping me and still working along with me and stuff like that. So yeah, they're all a great bunch of guys and that and stuff. But yeah, I appreciate them all to help me and get me where I am, you know what I mean? So now it's on to the next one. It's this big fight, and hopefully we finish with a raised hand.
Absolutely, absolutely amazing. Well, champ, I'd like to thank you very much for your time today because obviously we've had the good stories from your fights, but we've had a little bit more about your life before fighting and your family and all different and the mindset it takes to do what you do as well, which just fascinates me to no end personally. And some really good topics as well, some topics that will help people, I think. So I just want to thank you not only for your time, but also for being an open book about some sort of personal things like the bullying and sharing.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Appreciate it a lot.
No, it's nice to be on show and talking about things, you know what I mean, and stuff like that, and speaking about it and stuff, and sharing to the world what it's like a little bit, you know what I mean? Because people just think people think with the bare knuckle scene is you're just a backstreet fighter, you're angry all the time, you want to take on the world, but we've all got families, we've all got lives, you know what I mean, and stuff like that as well, and stuff. And that's what they don't see on that side, is we're all family men as well, you know what I mean? We might be in that ring and be bruisers and hitting each other, but we're still going on to our little babies at the end of the day and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So, and a lot of people don't see that inside of it. They all think we're little gangsters on one side, but we're not. We've got a little girl we run around for, who's under our thumb, you know what I mean? Who we're under their thumb for and stuff, as much as we're these big fighters.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's exactly what I try and show with these interviews is like the human side as well as the warrior side, if you like, or whatever. So it's been amazing, my friend. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great evening. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.